What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. So as you would have seen from the title of this video, yes, we did get COVID while here on our trip overseas to meet up with each other. We thought that we would sit down today and kind of talk about our experience with it and what it's been like for us. Just generally like what it's like contracting COVID while overseas, because I feel like it's a completely different experience to when you're in your own surroundings and like you know what places to go to get tested and stuff like that, because it has been an experience for us. But yeah, I also just wanted to say before we get into things that as we're recording this now, it's after the fact. Like, we've already had COVID, gone through our isolation and quarantine, fully recovered and been cleared. I know it might seem a bit confusing because as I'm uploading this, it seems like nothing happened. Like when I've been uploading content, it might seem like, oh, they've been going out, they've been going places, they've been doing things, but we did take our time to quarantine and whatnot. It just seems that with the way that everything's been uploaded and just the sequence of everything, it might seem like we're carrying on with our trip, but we did take time off to stay in. Like, we didn't go anywhere. For those of you guys who may be stumbling upon this video, if you don't know me, you don't know us, we are in a long distance relationship, and after 2 years of not seeing each other, we were finally able to kind of meet halfway and see each other, because the last time we saw each other was when we got engaged, like 2 years ago. Where shall we start?
Well, let's start with the day of when I felt the symptoms. We woke up knowing that we want to have brunch. We wanted to go to a cafe and have brunch. And that morning, you actually, when we got out of bed, you were like, are you okay?
Yes, because I looked at him and I was like, he looks different today. Like, I don't know, just something in your face. I was like, are you feeling okay? And you had mentioned like, oh, I have a little bit of a headache. And I was kind of joking around and being like, oh, COVID, because I know that with the new variant that has been out, that's like one of the very first symptoms that a lot of people experience is like a headache. While we've been here, we have been as careful as we can be. We always wear masks. We try and stay away from crowds. I'm over here like making sure that we're sanitizing our hands all the time.
Everywhere we go, everywhere we eat.
We already knew prior to going onto this trip that that was a risk that we would be taking, is that it is a possibility that we may contract COVID.
It might happen. You know, this time around, it wasn't like a 1 week trip that we planned like
Thank
we always
goodness,
do. And we had some time to actually recover and take some time to isolate, even though we had to extend the trip because of that reason. Again, not being together for 2 years, I mean, it wasn't the worst thing.
Not to say that it was a good thing, but it was a blessing in disguise, because when we did come up as positive, it was like, okay, this is gonna allow us to slow down, take a break from going out all the time. We literally just stayed in our own little bubbles.
So that day, you know, maybe I was fooling myself and I was like, I don't feel like something's wrong.
Yeah, you were like, I'm fine. Like, what do you mean?
And I was like, totally fine. Like, it didn't seem like it was anything at the time.
Yeah, plus like we had been going out and walking around a lot, doing a lot of sightseeing. So it was kind of hard to tell, like, is it COVID or am I just tired?
But that morning I was like, oh, it's nothing. So we went to go eat in cafe, and then right after that I was like, oh man, I'm coming down on this cold, and my throat was bothering me.
Oh, also I should probably mention we're both fully vaccinated,
and I have my booster as well.
Like you were saying, you really were feeling run down and you thought you were just like tired.
It hit me immediately when I felt the cold. I was like, you know what, I just need a cough syrup and I can get rid of this cold. So
as soon as he started to say like, yeah, I don't feel good, we decided to go straight home, and we stopped by the pharmacy to go and pick up like some cough syrup for you, and then we came home. You slept for the rest of that night, and then the next day was when we went out to go and get a test, because here in Paris there are so many places where you can get tests, which is really good actually. Like, there's a lot of pharmacies around, and there's a lot of pop-up like test clinics. I'm surprised
on how many pharmacies in every corner. It's like a Starbucks around here.
Literally. We both got tested because I was feeling completely fine, but I figured, well, I'm with you, so let's just go both get a test. And then we got the results within an hour or so. And I opened mine first, the email first, it said negative, and then he got his and he opened it and it said positive. So we were like, okay.
At that time I was still in denial. I was like, right before the test, I'm like, this is just a cold and I just have a headache.
As soon as he kept telling me like I have a headache, I was like, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be positive. Like you probably somehow contracted COVID from somewhere. And at that point I was like, well, in the place that we're staying at, it's not like I can go isolate in a separate room to avoid catching it. Right. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna prepare myself, and I know that I'm gonna get it as well.
You actually left to go to the grocery store. I stayed.
You stayed home.
Back and slept.
I just had to get enough groceries, because that's the thing, is like I can only imagine people who live by themselves and don't have like friends or family to be able to call up and be like, hey, can you go and get me some groceries, get me some medicine, get me this, get me that. We don't have that option here, obviously, but it was lucky that I tested negative. So I went to the grocery store, got enough groceries that I could to make meals and whatnot for us, and then we just stayed in. 2 days after you first started feeling your symptoms was when I had my one day of symptoms, really, where I was like really sore, had very sore muscles. I just wanted to lay down. I feel like my symptoms weren't as bad as yours. That's all I really experienced, was one day of me feeling like I'm so tired, like my body was tired. That's all I really experienced. I didn't really have much of like the headaches or the sore throat type of symptoms, or like the cold and flu type of symptoms that a lot of people experience, which I'm very thankful for, because that meant that I was able to take care of him.
All those symptoms felt like a regular cold. I have a headache, but I was like, you know what, when she cooked that night, I was like, oh, I'm still able to taste the food. So I didn't lose sense of taste. So I was like, okay, well, it didn't feel like it was anything, but the headache didn't go away. The next day I slept.
You slept all day, yeah, and to the point where he was sore, so I just kind of let him take the bed for the whole day, and I was just chilling here on the couch, because I was like, I just need him to rest and feel better. And yeah, I was thankful that I was not feeling that bad, so I was able to like take care of you. I was like making sure that we were drinking a lot of ginger lemon water.
Oh, right.
I was giving you so many like vitamins.
I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't feel as like better quickly than I did, but like you definitely took care of me the whole time. I
was definitely in that mindset of like, we gotta fight this, like I'm not about to let this like
you were like, oh, this Listerine is this Listerine was got rid of COVID, so even she was gargling Listerine.
I was like, anything to try and kill whatever bacteria is around. I was like spraying everything, sanitizing, airing out this place, because I was like, I just want to make sure that it was the least amount of time of feeling bad. I knew that we were going to have to stay in isolation, but I just didn't want you to be so sick for such a long time. That's why I was so adamant about like, drink this, take this, eat this, do this, because I didn't want him to feel bad for too long. Honestly, I always joke around about how I have a weak immune system, but prior to going onto this trip, even in general, I always take vitamins and supplements. I always take like vitamin C, vitamin D, and some other like herbal supplements, and I honestly believe that really helped like build up my immune system, because I was kind of shocked that when we initially took the test, because we've been together 24/7, I was surprised that I was negative and you were positive, but I knew it was gonna come. So after a few days of you like going through that, you were starting to feel a little bit better. I decided that I needed to go and get a PCR test to make sure like what's going with me. So I went to go get my test. Lo and behold, it was positive, of course. And then from there we just stayed in and did whatever. We had to do a lot of research as well, because getting COVID while you're overseas and trying to have the right documentation and paperwork so that you can go back home has been a mission.
When we were doing the research on the regulations on like what you need to go back home was insane. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you had to do all that. You had to jump through like a lot of hoops just so that we can go back home. I'd say there's a lot of things that you guys should know and you should research, especially if you're traveling. Because when we found out, like, oh, okay, well, first you have to find out if your airline takes any recovery, a certificate of recovery.
Because that's the thing as well. You may contract COVID and you've completed your isolation and quarantine and you're recovered and feeling better, but there's a thing called continuous shedding where even after the fact you can still test positive for COVID for 90 days. So I was reading through so many forums and whatnot about people who do get stuck overseas because they still test positive.
You showed me so many examples of like people getting stuck and then, you know, they didn't know the rules.
Yeah.
It was a lot of rules and regulations that countries have, airlines have, and like even layovers sometimes might be too difficult.
Yeah, because you have to check the rules for the countries that you're doing a layover in. But I feel like you wouldn't know all of this stuff unless it happened to you.
Until it happens,
Yeah, it's not as simple as buying a plane ticket, going to your destination, and then if you get COVID, you feel better, you've recovered, you've done your isolation, then you can go home. No, there's so much more that goes into it. I think we're just very thankful that this time around our trip was for an extended amount of time. Usually when we do get to see each other, it's only for like a week. I'm kind of thankful that when COVID hit, it was like before the halfway point of that trip. So it wasn't like we got it at the beginning and we're stuck with it the whole time. So we kind of got everything out of the way that we wanted to do first. Anyway, we did have to extend our trip because of this, for the pure fact of like processing paperwork and getting all of that sorted, and like the time frames of things has been really frustrating to say the least, and stressful. It has. You know, again, it wasn't the worst, you know, case scenario. Yeah, so, like we're very thankful that neither of us ended up having to go, you know, to hospital. Personally, I'm thankful that my experience with it wasn't like too bad, and I was able to look after you, because if we were both down, like, it wouldn't have been good.
Yeah, it wouldn't be good.
Oh, another thing is I did slightly lose my sense of like taste and smell for a minute, and I was very confused because it was like days after I had that one day where I wasn't feeling well. I was like eating like garlic bread and pesto, and I was like, I can't really taste this.
I'm like, you can't taste this. This is really good.
Or like
you cooked it, right?
I did, yes.
And I was like, damn, this is real good. You can't taste it.
And I was like, is it okay? Does it taste good? Like, I can't really taste it.
It tastes bomb. I'm like, you're missing out.
And I was worried because I was like, is this how it's going to be for a long time? It went away after like a few days, but I was so shocked. But yeah, that was our experience with getting COVID. I feel like it is definitely different contracting it when you're in an unfamiliar surrounding, because things like going to the doctors or being able to ask family and friends to drop things off for you will be so much easier when you're like in a place that you know, whereas here we don't know where to go to the doctor, we don't know where to get tested, like we had to do all that research.
The doctor was also insane because, like you said, you know, no one at this point, unless it's like your regular doctor that you go to, not a lot of people take in new patients. Yes,
finding doctors that would accept new patients and were willing to see us was a little bit different, difficult. And then there's also like the language barrier as well.
That was what I was just gonna mention too. Being in a foreign country, the language barrier. We were thankful that the places that we, you know, gone, a lot, like someone would speak a little bit of English, but the doctor, we were happy that there was like someone there that was speaking English.
Which I'm so thankful for, because I always feel like when people apologize for not being able to speak English, I'm like, please don't apologize. Like, I apologize for not being able to speak French, because I feel like I'm so ignorant for like not knowing, and I don't want people to apologize and be like, sorry, like my English isn't very good. It's like, no, don't apologize, it's my fault. So yeah, you guys, that is our experience with contracting COVID while overseas. It has been overwhelming, stressful, but at the same time kind of like a blessing in disguise, because it allowed us to slow down, spend time together, literally in a bubble. To everybody who has been watching the vlogs, thank you, really appreciate it. I am so overwhelmed with all of the love and support that I've been receiving and that we've been receiving. Even though it was kind of unfortunate for us to get COVID, for it to happen in this situation when we're together, I can only be thankful for that. So yeah, that's about it.
Yes, that's another new experience we have together, being together.
I hope everybody is staying safe and well and healthy. I know that things are really up and down, and we thought that 2022 would be a different year. It's crazy to think that this has been going on for this long. My recommendation is to just continue to build up your immune system,
Yep.
take vitamins, supplements, eat healthy, drink lots of water, just do all those like little things every single day that'll help contribute to your overall well-being. Like I said, I hope everybody is staying safe and is healthy, and until next time, we shall see you in the next video.
Yeah.